Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cut to the Chase Bengals Blitz. I'm your host, Chase Shantz. We're back at it a couple days after Christmas. Hope everybody had a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas and whatever holidays you guys celebrate. You guys are watching this video. You guys are listening to this. Like, subscribe, share, do whatever you can to get the word out on this one. This should be a good one. The rundown for today's episode, we're going to look at this Russell Wilson situation that's going on in Denver because stuff is getting pretty steamy right now. Don't want to miss that. We're going to talk about that first. Then we're going to talk about some clinching scenarios for week 17 along with the playoff picture because things are getting heated up in both conferences. It's going to get fun with that one. And then we're going to take a look at some of the top week 17 games because there are some spicy matchups on Saturday and Sunday. And it's going to be a fun episode to say the least. But if you are listening, if you're watching, like the video, like the audio, subscribe, do the whole thing there. We appreciate all the support and everything that's going on. If you're listening to us on the Running Through the Jungle Network, give us a 5-star rating. We appreciate it. We're giving out new content, every single week. But yeah, to start this thing off, last week, week 16 was a crazy week. A lot of teams were surprised. A lot of teams had some big time wins. And when it comes to the playoff scenario race, huge stuff. As a Bengals fan, not a great week last week, not a great Saturday, but we move forward. Moving forward, a story that took place in the news today, the center stage of the National Football League. It wasn't any playoff scenarios or clinching scenarios because we'll be talking about that, all that's going to be, coming on the Thursday night football game with the Cleveland Browns, which have a couple of clinching scenarios in that one against the New York Jets. And then we got Saturday and Sunday. But you're looking at Russell Wilson, a team with, Russell Wilson, the quarterback of the Broncos for now, I must add, his future is uncertain. Very, very uncertain. And with the shocking development of Wilson being benched for Jarrett Stidham, raised eyebrows all over the place. Apparently, Jarrett Stidham is the AFC West Grim Reaper because he started last year the last 2 games for Derek Carr, and it sent Derek Carr to the sideline purgatory and to issue a statement to saying, get me out of Vegas. Get me out of here. He went to the AFC South playing with the Saints, and they have a huge game this weekend against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Sorry, I stumbled the words there. Russell Wilson started off 1-5 this year. The first, let me think, 17 plus 6, 23 games of Russell Wilson's Broncos career, he was 6-17. There were I understand, other quarterbacks played in those games, in 2022 as well. But under that umbrella of games, Russell Wilson, the Broncos were not good. They're not a great football team right now, but they're 7-8. Made improvements that many people thought they would make. They started 1-5 this year. They lose a tough one to the New England Patriots, a team that is not that good. But Bill Belichick and those guys play spoiler. They definitely do. They did it a couple weeks ago against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thursday Night Football game where no one thought they'd win. They scored 7 points in 2 weeks. I didn't know touchdowns in their vocabulary, but enough on the Patriots. But, one of the only bright spots the Broncos have had this entire season has been Russell Wilson. Ever since their defense got cooked. 50 burgers, one thing, but a 70 sub sandwich, I don't even know. They got destroyed against the Dolphins. We all know that week 3. It was a long time ago. The league's a different place now, 14 weeks later. Russell Wilson, 3,070 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 66% completion percentage, the 7th highest passer rating in the National Football League at a 98 passer rating. He's done everything he could. Jerry Jeudy's been in the news. Cortland Sutton's been great. They've had receivers going in and out as that third option. Running backs, they got the run game going later on to help out Russell Wilson when they got on that win streak. They went from 1-5, and before Christmas, actually, I'll even put it back before this Lions game, they were 7-6. They went 6-1 in that time frame. They lose to the Lions in a tough one. The Lions were playing really good football, and they lose to the Patriots on Christmas Eve. Not a great morning for Denver fans waking up on Christmas Day, reminding them of the loss they had to the Rams by like 37 points the year before. Nonetheless. But then there's more news that Russell Wilson's going to be released in March. This goes up into the conversation for worst contract and worst trade ever. If that's the case, if this is how the Russell Wilson era ends, because it went from 5 wins to 7 wins, the third year in Russell Wilson, 9 wins potentially. You make that 2-win jump each year. There you go. He's in a 7-year, actually, look at the contract terms. It's technically a 5-year contract. His contract terms, I'm reading this off of sportstrack.com. They have, they have all the contract breakdowns and everything. They did a really good job. Last year, Russell Wilson's base salary was $2 million. His signing bonus was $10 million. His roster was $5 million. His cap hit was 17. The dead cap goes down each and every year. $124 million last year. He made $57 million last year. $28 million this year. Dead cap $107 million. It's a lot of money. His contract terms are 5 years, $242.5 million with a $50 million signing. God, wow. Just think, $50 million for writing your name in cursive is insane, to say the least. That's Shohei Ohtani. Average salary, $48 million. He's a free agent in 2029. 2024 is in less than a week. That's a half decade from now when he's an unrestricted free agent. He'll be 41. But from the news that's come out, they might just cut him in March and let him go somewhere else. And they're going to just eat the dead cap. The potential out for him when it looks like this contract is 2026, 4 years, $161 million, and a $31 million dead cap. But they might just let him out now. Basically, this just said, Denver, we screwed up. We did a terrible job. We made a good quarterback a terrible contract offer who was 34 years old coming off of an injury. And we said, we're going to believe in you, throw all the entire bag at you, and we're going to get you Nathaniel Hackett as your head coach because we didn't think we were going to get you. We thought we were going to trade for Aaron Rodgers. Russell Wilson was not the first option for Denver, without a doubt. I think a lot of people have kind of pieced that together because Nathaniel Hackett goes to New York, and what happens? They get Aaron Rodgers over there. The trade. Oh God. Broncos fans, man. I don't want to burst bubbles or anything like that. I really don't. I don't have many problems with Broncos fans at all. I don't. But if you want to hear what all the oh God. I mean, if you're a Broncos fan, you should probably turn this thing off right now. Because if you're looking at what the Broncos received in this trade, and what the Seahawks received, it's going to be a long night. The Broncos received Russell Wilson and a 2022 fourth-round pick. Ayuma Awuziorke. I don't even know if I pronounced his name right, but what's he doing? Okay. That's all they received. A fourth-round pick, and they're going to cut this man Russell Wilson in a couple of months. What did the Seahawks receive? A 2022 first and second and fifth round pick and a 2023 first and third round pick. Those players came out as Charles Cross, starter. Devon Witherspoon, starter. Boy Mafe plays quite a bit. Derek Hall plays quite a bit. Tyreek Smith going to play. Noah Fant, tight end on the roster, plays. Shelby Harris plays. Drew Lock beat the Eagles on Monday Night Football. Broncos fans, man, it's rough. It is rough right now. And I don't even know what other way to tell. Hey, I could say at least you're not Cleveland, but Cleveland's winning with Joe Flacco. That's all. Yeah, Jarrett Stidham is not Joe Flacco. Jarrett Stidham's not like 40 years old. Jarrett Stidham is just your figurative Grim Reaper of AFC West quarterbacks. Your only hope is that maybe he goes to the Chargers or the Chiefs and basically says, hey, Patrick Mahomes or Justin Herbert, your time's up. But that won't happen. We already know. All right. So let's look at this playoff picture, okay, and all these clinching scenarios. I want to read down this playoff picture list real quick. I got to look at the monitor over here. So the Ravens and the Dolphins are the only two teams that have clinched in the AFC so far, at the 1 and the 2. The Ravens haven't clinched a division yet, and the Dolphins haven't either. No one's clinched any divisions yet in the AFC. The 3 seed, the Chiefs, they lost to the Raiders this past week. They can't get the 1 seed. They lose this Sunday, they can't get the 2 seed either. And stuff's going to get really spicy when it comes to that, because they might not even win their division at that point if they don't win Sunday against Cincinnati. Praying for that one. 4 is the Jaguars. The Jaguars are holding on. They are holding on for dear life. They were 8-3 at one point, had a 2-game lead over 2 teams in that division, the Colts and Texans, and now that gap is closed. All those 3 teams are 8-7. There are major issues in Jacksonville right now, and it's reminding me of the 2008 Denver Broncos. I don't want to keep beating that drum, because if any Broncos fans remember that season, oh my, it ended terribly. Looking at the wild card, the Browns are the 5 seed. The Browns are basically going to make the playoffs. We know that. They're 10-5. They play the Jets on Thursday Night Football. This should be an easy dub. They'll probably end up getting to 12 wins. They really might, because the Bengals can't beat anybody in their division. I don't understand the whole thing, and I'm not going to try to figure that out. So there's still a chance for the Browns to even win the division and even get the 1 seed, but and it's not unrealistic. But if the Ravens take care of business, they're gonna wrap up the division in the 1 seed. If the Browns were to lose somehow to the Jets tomorrow, then the Ravens would wrap up the division. The Bills, the 6 seed. Buffalo's just got to keep winning. That's all it is. And we'll talk more about scenarios, but Buffalo just got to keep winning. They just got to keep that thing going. The Colts, the 7, 8-7. They're holding on by a thread. Absolute thread. They have a huge game against the Raiders this week. The 8 seed Texans. Texans got to win. Texans just got to keep winning. That's their only mantra right now. And hope that other things happen. Right now, the Steelers are ahead of the Bengals. The Steelers and Bengals have about the same odds, going forward. The Steelers have the Seahawks and the Ravens coming up. The Bengals have the Chiefs and Browns. Got to go on the road to play the Chiefs this weekend. Huge one. So that'll be interesting. The Seahawks and the Steelers play each other at 4:05. We'll talk more about that game. The Raiders are the 11. The Raiders have an interesting one, because the Raiders could beat the Colts, and then they could beat the Broncos the next week against Jarrett Stidham, who was their quarterback last year that ended their Carr era. And they could be 9-8. And that could give, I think it already gives Antonio Pierce his job that they beat the Chiefs this past week, but that could almost solidify that, and they could almost make the playoffs. And the Broncos, they've given up. They've given up. So that's what you got there. And then on the NFC side, 4 teams have already spoken for playoff spots. The Niners are the 1 seed right now. They won their division. The Eagles are the 2 seed. They haven't won their division yet, but it looks pretty good for them right now. The Lions have won their division. They're one of 2 teams that win their division in the National Football League. There's going to be 6 spots left. Won their division at 11-4. They beat the Vikings this past week in a huge game. One that almost left Lions fans pulling their hair out. If any of those fans have hair, I can confirm my brother does. And then the Cowboys, the 5 seed at the moment, 10-5. In opinions, they basically have salvaged their division hopes, because they do play a tough game against Detroit at home. Dallas is a completely different team at home and on the road, so keep that in mind. The Bucs right now, the Bucs win on Sunday against the Saints. They'll win the division. Baker Mayfield, division champ. Put that in terms. Wow. just wow. And that'll almost surely make a matchup with the Dallas Cowboys like it was last year. Rams just got to keep winning. Same with the Seahawks. Seahawks are probably not going to jump the Rams unless the Rams fall off and the Seahawks catch a couple wins, 2 wins. If the Rams and Seahawks finish the same record, the Rams are going to be ahead of the Seahawks. So basically those 2 teams win, they're going to be comfortable because they're a game ahead of the Vikings, the Packers, the Saints, the Falcons, and the Bears are still technically in it, but that's a pipe dream. So yeah, there's a lot going on there. And looking at clinching scenarios in this regard, we go to the AFC. Both the Ravens and Dolphins have clinched. The Ravens clinched the AFC North with a win or tie, or a Cleveland Browns loss or tie this Thursday. Baltimore clinches the AFC number 1 seed and lone first-round bye with home field advantage with a win on Sunday. The Buffalo Bills take on the Patriots. The Bills have 14 different scenarios, but 9 of them include ties. So let's go with the 5 here, okay? Buffalo clinches a playoff spot with a win, a Pittsburgh loss or tie, or a Cincinnati loss or tie. They also clinch with a win, Pittsburgh loss, or Jacksonville loss. I'll take ties out of this right now, okay? But you guys should know. Bills win, Steelers loss, Texans loss, Colts loss. Those 3 things. The easiest scenario is if the Steelers and Bengals lose and the Bills win Sunday, then the Bills make the playoffs. Bottom line. Cleveland, they have 5 really easy scenarios. Cleveland Browns win tomorrow, they make the playoffs. Or if Pittsburgh loses. Or if Buffalo loses. Or if Jacksonville loses. Or if Houston and the Colts lose. One of the easiest scenarios out there. Love it winning in scenarios. You put matters in your own hands. Jacksonville Jaguars clinch a playoff berth and AFC South with a win and Colts and Texans loss. There you go. Chiefs clinch their division and a playoff berth with a win or a Raiders and Broncos loss. Dolphins clinch their division with a win or Bills loss. Simple as that. On the NFC side, the Rams clinch a playoff berth with a win and Seattle loss or a win plus a Green Bay, Minnesota tie on Sunday Night Football. So option number 1 is going to be the better one. Philadelphia clinches an NFC East division title, and they would be the first division title back-to-back since the early 2000s when they did it. They went to like 4 or 5 straight NFC championship games and went to 1 Super Bowl only. The Eagles would clinch with a win and a Dallas loss or a Philly tie and Dallas loss. So basically, if Dallas loses and Philly takes care of business against the Arizona Cardinals, they're going to win the division. Niners clinch a number 1 overall seed and a lone first-round bye of home field advantage if they win, plus a Detroit and Philadelphia loss. Both teams lose and the Niners win against the Commanders. Seattle clinches a playoff spot with a win and a Green Bay and Minnesota tie. All right. Seattle's just got to win out, basically. Tampa Bay clinches the NFC South. Both leaders have the same record. Tampa Bay clinches the division with a win or a tie plus Falcons loss. A lot of scenarios this week. A lot of crazy ones. The Bills have 14 of them, 5 of them regarding wins. But yeah, looks pretty wild right now. We'll take a short break. We'll look at a couple of these really big matchups that are coming up. And we're going to, pay a couple bills in the audio world, and you're just going to look at my face for like 5 seconds. Here we go. All right. We are back on the Bengals Blitz. Let's take a look at some of the top games coming up in this huge weekend of football. Detroit, Dallas. Saturday night, big time game. The Lions have been moving. They've been doing their thing the last couple games. Beat the Broncos, beat the Vikings. Offense has been flowing. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, the run game, doing their thing. Jared Goff in the play action pass. It almost looks like all the receivers have just so much cushion in them. There's not many defenders around the area. Monter St. Brown, one of the top 5 yardage receivers in the National Football League right now. It's a real stat. Jamison Williams has come along, big play receiver. Josh Reynolds been really good. Sam Laporta, the young tight end, has done great things as a rookie. This has been a great cast. Ben Johnson's been in his bag calling these plays. They're going up against a Dallas defense that has been tested against the run. James Cook went off against them in week 15. The Dolphins did their thing in both facets of the game against the Cowboys, a lower scoring game, but in some aspects had their way against them, and especially short yardage situations. They've tried to isolate Micah Parsons in scenarios. He's going to come off of both sides. He's going to be moving around left and right. Detroit's got a great offensive line. They're going to have to stay ready for it. These Dallas corners are aggressive. Stephon Gilmore's been in the league for a long time. Deron Bland's a young guy who has 5 pick sixes and will try to jump anything that comes his way. Got to stay lurking of that. It's going to be a great matchup. It really is. You look on the other side of it. Dallas has to play with the lead. Okay? Detroit's defense has not been great. It really hasn't since their bye week. But Aiden Hutchinson's got to get some pressure. Brian Branch has stepped up on the back end. Linebacker Alex Anzalone has made a lot of plays the last couple of weeks. And they're going to have to be ready for this multifaceted Dallas offense. CeeDee Lamb has been doing his thing this year. He's been balling. And that's going to be the main focal point. They got to stop on the outside. Tony Pollard in the run game. It's a mixture of both. They have to shut down one aspect and make it a one-dimensional game somehow. That's how Detroit wins this game. Dallas, get pressure on Jared Goff and try to run the football to set up the pass. That's your keys in that. Miami, Baltimore. Tua going into a tough environment. Baltimore Ravens. He threw 6 touchdowns the last time with the Baltimore. In a huge comeback victory. It was like a 20-plus point comeback victory they had week 2 last year. So Baltimore's definitely feeling the sting from that one, and they can get some revenge on this and get the number 1 overall seed in the AFC North title with a win. The Dolphins have a lot at stake as well, because if they win the division. So both teams have a lot coming into this one. Miami, one of the best running football teams in the National Football League, not National League, we're not baseball, but Raheem Mostert, great job. 20 total touchdowns, 1,000 all-purpose yards, rushing yards, whatever. Baltimore, guys like Justin Matabuke, James Urban, Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith. They got to figure out what's going on with Kyle Hamilton right now. They got to stop the run game. They got to force Tua to throw in tight pressure situations. Tyreek Hill, unguardable to say the least. Jalen Waddle has gone through a couple injuries the last couple of weeks, so we're going to see what's going on with him. That's going to be a tough receiving core to stop. Again, similar with this Lions-Cowboys game, the Ravens have to make the Dolphins one-dimensional. They have to completely shut down one facet of their game and say, hey, try to beat us this way. Let's see. And that's asking for a lot when you're playing against Tyreek Hill. If you're trying to shut down the run game and say, hey, make Tyreek Hill be over top. Okay, cool. So what do the Ravens have to do? Pressure. They have to get added pressure, and they have to be successful with it. Mike McDonald and his scheming blitzes, his simulated pressures, they have to be all-purpose execution this Sunday. And Baltimore's offense. Just function, Baltimore's lived off turnovers on defense and put the offense in good field position in situations. Lamar Jackson is going to be a game where he has to do it with his legs. He's going to have to try it. Miami Dolphins defense has put some pressure on their opponents the last couple of weeks. Jalen Ramsey's played really well. The Ravens have to run the football. They run the football, this game's opened up, and I think Baltimore controls time of possession, and they can win this football game. Stop the run the ball. I thought Baltimore wins the game. Miami, run the ball, open up the whole offensive game, and then make Lamar Jackson second-guess himself. That's how you go from there. Raiders, Colts. If Aiden O'Connell goes 0 for 10 again, in the last 3 quarters of the game, I can guarantee you the Raiders. Actually, I can't guarantee you that now because he did it against the Chiefs. I guarantee you that the Colts will make the Raiders pay for it. The Raiders didn't do much on offense at all. They did run the football. I'll give credit. They did a really good job of running the football. Let me look this up over here. The Raiders running back who went off. Why is the name slipping from my mind? Zamir White. Zamir White he had an awesome game. Awesome game against Kansas City Chiefs. Great job for him. 145 yards rushing on 22 carries. They asked a lot from him, and he delivered. It's going to be a big thing Sunday, running the football against the Indianapolis Colts. They have to help their young quarterback out because Aiden O'Connell has guys like Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers and Michael Mayer and Trey Tucker. He's got guys he can throw the football to. There's no shortage of that. Josh Jacobs comes back, we'll see. But Antonio Pierce has had these guys playing really inspired football. The defense had an absolute masterclass. They gave up 14 points. Absolute master. Like, applause to them. Applause. Because they balled out. Max Crosby had Mahomes shitting down his leg the entire game. I don't blame Patrick Mahomes because I looked that scared too if Max with 2 X's was coming after me. X marks the spot. That's enough because Max Crosby has been balling and he's a game wrecker. He's entered the game wrecker conversation. I think he's already been in it before, but he's the game wrecker. And it just makes the secondary go, makes the linebackers go, makes all that stuff. Robert Spillane's been playing fantastic football. The corners have been inspired. It's Max Crosby up front, and it's this players coach, Antonio Pierce, that's done a good job. On the other side for the Colts, Shane Steichen, they got to bounce back. They win an emotional game against the Titans, lose to the Bengals. Beat the Steelers handily, lose bad to the Falcons. Bounce back, and if they beat the Raiders, for my circumstances, I hope the Raiders beat the Colts because of playoff scenarios with the Bengals. But nonetheless, they run the football well, open up for Gardner Minshew, then the Colts are going to have a good chance of winning this football game. And they can't let the Raiders' run game get going. It's the same kind of theme for all these games, pretty much. Hey, stop the run, force them to pass and be one-dimensional. Let's get the run game going, and let's open up the pass. That's pretty much all it is right now. Good game Sunday. Saints, Bucks. Baker Mayfield's playing great football. Baker Mayfield literally continue to do the same thing. That's pretty much the game plan right now. The Bucks, whatever they've been doing, wash, rinse, repeat, go ahead. Rachaad White, Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans. Pretty much do that. Saints, find it. Find it. Because there's a lot of things going on right now. Derek Carr has frustrated a lot of people in the first year with the Saints. He's got to find it. Derek Carr has to find that fire on the last day of 2023 and try to deliver his team a chance to win the NFC South and fight another week. Well, I got to savor that one. Pittsburgh, Seattle. Seattle, I can't remember how many years it's been, but they're one of the first teams in a very long time to have two different quarterbacks in back-to-back weeks lead game-winning drives. Pretty impressive. Seattle, young team, getting hot at the right time. I thought Seattle would have about 10, 11 wins right now. Thought they'd finish 11-6 this year. They can't. At best, they can finish 10-7, which I think they will. I think this Seattle team's getting hot at the right time. I think Kenneth Walker is going to be the main chess piece in this one, the run and pass game. Going to be huge. Opens up guys for DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Tyler Lockett. It's going to open things up. Geno Smith. That offensive line has to protect him. EJ Watt's out there lurking. League leader in sacks. So obviously got to keep an eye on him everywhere he goes. Alex Highsmith as well. Apparently can drop in coverage too. But yeah, the Steelers though, a lot of juice with them right now coming off that win against the Bengals. screw them, but a lot of juice for them. And Mason Rudolph going to play confident. Going to try to play confident against the Seahawks team. Loud crowd coming up. But the Steelers are in that mode where it's like, hey, they got to go out and ball out because Mike Tomlin's 500 streak is on the line. So keep it if you want. Try it. I don't care. But it'll be a good game. Very good game. Cincinnati, Kansas City. Woo, big one. I will be watching this game by myself. Have to. Jake Browning is the Linsanity run over. We'll see Sunday. Because Jake Browning still threw for 335, but he had 3 terrible interceptions. I mean, bad. The offense couldn't get moving. They got behind very, very early. Couldn't run the football, throwing. I mean, it was just, it was flinging prayer the whole time. They had so many opportunities too. They got to the plus side of the field at least 5 times. And I think they had like four possessions where they got on the plus side of the field and had no points out of him. So change the scenario of the game, but the Bengals just can't lose the turnover battle. They can't. And they have to convert and get points on some of those drives. Have to. Huge game with the Kansas City Chiefs because the Chiefs, I want to play the Chiefs coming off a dub. Not saying they would soften up or anything like that, but the Chiefs are pissed off right now. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, all of them. Like Taylor Swift took his talent, took Kelsey's talent. Knock on wood for that one. But again, we'll see what happens because the Chiefs know the Bengals are coming to town. They're going to put their A game on. And the Bengals, even though without Joe Burrow, it just sucks we don't have this Burrow-Mahomes matchup because I think the records would be a lot better right now. Both teams, I think both teams would have literally elevated their play the last couple of weeks knowing that this matchup's coming up. But the Bengals are coming to town. Cam Taylor-Britt's coming back off of injury. Huge addition for the Bengals after losing guys like DJ Readers. Jamar Chase progressing. We'll see if Jamar Chase plays. If he plays, huge. Huge for the Cincinnati Bengals. Chess piece. The chess piece. So I am excited for this one. Hopefully I have as much hair as I do right now and I don't pull any out. So again, great matchup that's been brewing, a rivalry that's been brewing the last couple of years between the Bengals and Chiefs. Wish it was Burrow Mahomes, but you get what you get. December 31st, 425 CBS, Nance Romo, Wolfson. There you go. Sunday Night Football, Packers, Vikings. The loser's done. The winner has a chance. That's pretty much what it is. It's in Minnesota. Green Bay's been up and down. Jordan Love has to find a way. Nick Mullins has thrown for over 300 yards in his 2 starts against the Lions and the Bengals. But Nick Mullins can't keep turning the football over. He's had like 6 interceptions in the last 2 games. Can't keep happening. I think they should turn back to Josh Dobbs, but they're throwing the football well down the field. It's just the amount of turnovers that's been going on. Those turnovers are killer. They really are. Drive killers, possession beaters, everything. Jordan Love and the Packers. This young team has to find a way to pull through. Night game. They gotta try to run the football, but they gotta trust in their guy to make big plays down the field. They have to. Against the Vikings secondary that is so dependent on their front and Daniil Hunter and the front 7 that they have. Ivan Pace Jr. at linebacker has done a really good job from UC. They depend on him so much. They depend on that front 7 so much because they blitz so many times, and they know we got to hold him for only 2 seconds. If Jordan Love's able to get out of the pocket and make plays, it could be a long night for the Minnesota Vikings. If Nick Mullins does not turn the football over, it could be a long night for the Green Bay Packers who won't have Jair Alexander. I'm excited to see which version of SNF this is going to be, as this is going to be like the 8th matchup in 18 years on SNF, the 5th most frequent matchup possible. I'm excited for Week 17. I hope the Bengals get their victory. I hope it's a great weekend of football. I just want to see a chance to live the fight another day. But again, I don't make the rules. You either, hate the player. You don't hate the player, hate the game. I sometimes hate the game at times, but I won't say that publicly. But, I'm excited for Week 17 and what it has to offer. And hopefully the Cincinnati Bengals can get a win. But just enjoying these last 2 weeks of regular season football. and then the playoffs come, and then once Super Bowl's over, you don't get regular season football for 7 more months. And just appreciating all the games that are going on and sitting back like, man, it's Sunday, it's football time after church, and just kicking it back and relaxing and watching this great American sport that we call football. See you next time.